iSARMs.com, the #1 place to learn about SARMs online.
Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you. Now, today I want to discuss with you the dangers of oral steroids, but I want to explain to you why it's far more than just your liver that's at risk here. So I'm just going to jump right into it. There's a good amount to cover here. Now, it's important to understand that not all C17 alpha alkylated steroids exhibit the same amount or level of hepatotoxicity. There's various oral steroids that are known to be significantly more hepatotoxic. Things like your anadrols, your halotestins, I think we all know that. And then there's some that are known to be far more mild, like my good buddy Anavar. Okay, now the determining factor here in what causes one oral steroid to exhibit more liver toxicity than the other is really a question of debate, and it's really not known with 100% certainty, but it is understood that various anabolic steroids are naturally more resistant to hepatic metabolism before they actually undergo the methylation, and following methylation, their hepatic metabolism resistance is furthered to even greater degrees, right? A perfect example of this is trenbolone. Now, it's an injectable steroid, mind you, and we know that doesn't possess C17 alpha alkylation, and on its own does not exhibit, any notable hepatotoxicity, but it is known to be quite resistant to hepatic metabolism on its own right. Following C17 alpha alkylation, creating methyltrianolone, it then exhibits one of the most extreme degrees of liver toxicity ever reported, ever known to man. So much that it is in fact, for the most part, unusable. Okay, its resistance to hepatic metabolism is so great that it's been labeled as being exceedingly liver toxic, where studies conducted it to be determined the most, hepatotoxic oral steroid that there is ever created. Now, all C17 alpha alkylated steroids have at least some level of hepatotoxicity in studies, and it's very important to make note of the fact that many of these studies, doses utilized were therapeutic doses, not doses like that we use as bodybuilders to improve our physiques and for bodybuilding purposes. A perfect example of this was done with D-ball. Okay, studies demonstrated that doses of 15 milligrams per day or more displayed, a level of increased hepatotoxicity, but doses of 10 milligrams or less per day showed minimal levels of hepatotoxic, increases. So it's obviously dose dependent, and I think we all know that. Now, the most common form of hepatotoxicity as a result of excessive oral anabolic steroid use is a condition that's called cholestasis. Now, this is a condition where bile flow in the liver becomes either completely halted or at the very least it's just disrupted. Now, this can result from either a physical blockage or a chemical one, and in this case with anabolic steroids induced cholestasis of the liver. Okay, so what occurs here is that the blockage or chemical impairment actually results in a buildup of bile salts in the liver and bloodstream in large enough quantities. This buildup can become toxic to hepatic cells in the liver and actually kill them. Now, the severity of this condition can range from very minor and discomforting to life-threatening. Minor cases are recoverable in a matter of weeks, while more severe cases may take months or more of recovery time. Okay, you can cause potentially severe liver damage abusing oral steroids. And, it can become life-threatening. This is no joke. I'm going to be doing a video on cirrhosis of the liver and how oral steroids can cause that and how that can lead to cancer as well. Many individuals have developed liver cysts, necrotic lesions, that's liver cell death and scarring of liver tissue. And in rare cases, there's been some liver cancers. And these have been found in a couple of bodybuilders following high-dose regimens of anabolic, oral steroids, as well as one documented death. Now, there's also cholesterol issues. It's well known and a very known fact that anabolic steroids can and do exhibit negative cholesterol changes on the body, and various anabolic steroids exhibit this to a lesser extent and some to a greater extent. While some have displayed the ability to alter cholesterol levels in a positive manner, though this is very, very rare. Okay, in the case of oral steroids, the negative impact on cholesterol levels is in fact the worst of the worst of the worst of all types of steroids. These changes involve the reduction of HDL, high-density lipoprotein, which is your good cholesterol, and increases of LDL, which is low-density lipoprotein, which is your bad cholesterol. This, this can actually increase your risk of hardening of your arteries, okay? And you obviously don't want that. You're risking heart disease and heart failure. Other factors that affect negative cholesterol changes are duration of use and route of administration. This is where oral anabolic steroids hold a negative reputation for exhibiting a far worse negative impact on cholesterol in comparison to injectable anabolic steroids. And this is because with anabolic steroids, once you have that C17 alpha alkylation to get that passed through the liver, it's altering it, and it is just causing so much disruption. Okay, and this disruption can really not only wreak havoc on your cholesterol, but that translates into your cardiovascular system as well. So what can happen is your blood pressure can rise. You can start to have risking the increased risk factor of heart disease and heart failure. And if you're at a higher body fat, clearly it's not good to have your cholesterol raised. And a lot of guys that say, well, why can't I use steroids with a higher body fat? Understand what I'm trying to tell you here, because you're making it much worse on yourself. If you have elevated blood pressure, it's bad enough, but if you're overweight, think about how much worse it is. Think about how much worse it is to have higher cholesterol if you're overweight. It's just horrible. And then there's also risk of kidney damage, okay, that comes with oral steroid use as well, that people don't ever even discuss or bring up. So we're overlooking all of these things. Okay, liver, blood pressure, cardiovascular system, your lipids, like your cholesterol, etc., triglycerides, all of these things, kidneys, all systems of the body can have issues. And you'll see it in your blood work, especially if you don't protect yourself. If you don't protect yourself using oral steroids, you can thrash your insides. And then when you continue to use them over time, it's like, let's say that you have a car, right? And you don't change the oil for, since on newer cars, it's like every 5,000 miles or whatever. I'm just going to throw a number out there. Just whatever. I don't need car guys telling me what the fuck. Let's say it's every 5,000 miles. Let's say you don't change it for 20,000 miles, right? Obviously, you're causing problems, correct? So then let's say you do it again and you don't do it for 20,000 miles. You just keep repeating this. Well, over time, guess what happens? You're causing worse and worse and worse problems until it just fails. And it's just all-out failure. And your car's done. You're going to do that to yourself as well. So that's why I stress the protection. So please understand the severity of oral steroid use and why it is so important to protect yourself, run proper doses, not abuse the doses, and be in the right condition to use them. Dylan Gemelli, signing off. Please click subscribe.